So, the European Union has just rolled out a new law that's poised to completely change what we buy and how it's made. And its impact? Well, it's going to be felt thousands of miles away. Let's dig into this. It's a real game changer in the fight against global deforestation. Think about your last grocery run. That coffee you grabbed, the chocolate bar for later, the leather in your shoes, even the animal feed that went into the steak you're planning for dinner. This new law connects all of those things directly back to the world's forests. And why? Because when the EU took a hard look at its own market, it found something pretty startling. Its own consumption habits are a massive part of the problem. An internal assessment showed that the EU market is responsible for about 10% of all global deforestation. That's a huge footprint. So you can see why the EU felt it had to take such a big step. But first, to really get it, you have to understand the staggering scale of this crisis. I mean, just let that number sink in for a second. The UN says that in just 30 years, we lost an area of forest that is bigger than the entire EU. This isn't some slow-moving problem. It's a full-blown inferno. So what's causing all this? Well, it's not really a mystery. The answer is surprisingly simple. The EU's own research makes it crystal clear. Almost 90% of global deforestation is caused by one thing: expanding farmland. We are literally clearing forests to grow stuff and raise animals. Faced with these kinds of facts, the EU decided it was time to draw a line in the sand. Or, a line at the edge of the forest. And the response is this new law, Regulation 2023/1115. Now, the whole law is built on two really key definitions. First up, deforestation. The regulation gets super specific here. It's all about turning a forest into farmland. That's it. Forest one day, farm the next. That's deforestation. And second, and this one is so important, is forest degradation. This is a huge deal because it's not just about clear-cutting everything. It's also about ruining the quality of the forest that's still there. Think about replacing a rich, biodiverse, natural forest with a plantation of just one type of tree. Sure, there are still trees, but the soul of the forest, its ecological value, has been totally wiped out. Okay, so here it is. This is the heart of the whole thing. The EU set a rock-solid cutoff date, December 31st, 2020. Any product sold in the EU cannot, I repeat, cannot come from land that was deforested or degraded after that date. This is so clever because it stops a mad rush to clear land before the law really kicks in. The line has been drawn and it's in the past. All right, so that's the big idea, but what does it actually mean in practice? What does this new rulebook look like for the things we see on the shelves every day? Well, the law zooms in on 7 specific commodities, basically the biggest culprits behind all this deforestation, and you'll definitely recognize them. We're talking cattle for our beef and leather, cocoa for our chocolate, coffee, of course, palm oil, which is hiding in tons of processed foods and cosmetics, rubber for tires and gloves, soya, which is a key ingredient in animal feed, and finally wood. Yeah, pretty much the building blocks of our modern lives. So for any of these products to get sold in or even exported from the EU, they have to pass a strict 3-point test. Number 1, they have to be deforestation-free based on that 2020 cutoff date. Number 2, they had to be produced legally in their own country. And number 3, they must be backed up by something called a due diligence statement. And that brings us right to the engine of this whole regulation, this idea of due diligence. It's all about forcing companies to actually check their own homework, to look deep into their supply chains. So how's it work? It's a 3-step dance. First, companies have to gather a ton of information. And here's the revolutionary part. They need the exact GPS coordinates for the plot of land where the cocoa or coffee was actually grown. No more vague "from this region" stuff. Second, they have to use that data to figure out if there's a risk it's not compliant. And third, if they find a risk, they have to fix it, reduce it to practically zero before that product can ever hit the market. The law also makes it super clear whose job this is. The heaviest responsibility is on the operators. Think of them as the first company to bring the product into the EU, like an importer. They have to do the full 3-step due diligence. The other traders, further down the supply chain, have it a bit easier. Their main job is to keep good records so everything can be traced back. Basically, the buck stops with whoever brings it into the market first.
So, you've got this powerful news system. But the million-dollar question is, right? Does it have teeth? How will it actually be enforced, and what could this mean for the future?
Enforcement is up to the authorities in each EU country. They'll be doing risk-based checks, but get this, the inspection rate is way higher, a full 9% for products coming from countries that are flagged as high risk for deforestation. And the penalties for getting caught are designed to hurt. We're talking serious fines and having your products seized and taken off the market. This sends a massive shockwave down the supply chain, forcing producers all over the world to get transparent if they want to sell to one of the biggest markets on Earth. But honestly, maybe the most fascinating piece of this whole puzzle is where it might be going next. There was this one line, kind of buried in the regulation's introduction, that gives us a major clue. It basically says that protecting forests shouldn't just push the problems somewhere else, causing us to destroy other important places instead. And that leaves us with a really provocative thought to end on. The EU is already planning to look at expanding this exact model to protect other crucial ecosystems like wetlands, grasslands, and savannas. So are we seeing the very first step in a totally new era of global trade? An era where getting access to a massive market isn't just about price anymore, but about having hard, geolocated proof that what you're selling is sustainable for all of our planet's most vital places? Only time will tell.